This is Optimal Finance Daily, episode 863. What is an index fund and why should you care? Part 2, by Nick True of mappedoutmoney.com. And I'm Dan, I'm your host here on the show, and this is where I read to you from some of the very best personal finance blogs on the planet. We take all this great content and we put it into audio form for you, kind of like a giant audiobook. And thank you to SendPro Online from Pitney Bowes. Save time and money no matter what you ship or mail with the SendPro online software. Print shipping labels and stamps right from your desk and access discounted rates for as low as $4.99 a month. Try it free for 30 days and get a free 10-pound scale when you visit pb.com/finance. That's pb.com/finance. Now, today is a continuation from yesterday, so if you're new here, it'd be best to start with yesterday's episode first. But if you're all caught up, let's get right to part 2 as we optimize your life. What is an index fund and why you should care? Part 2, by Nick True of mediocrity.com. When it comes to investing, you have very little real control. The market is huge, and unless you're a billionaire, you probably don't own enough stock in one company to make any influential decisions. But despite your lack of control when it comes to the performance of your investments, you have a large amount of control over what you pay for those investments. If you invest through a normal brokerage account with any major brokerage, you're going to pay a transaction cost every time you buy or sell shares of stocks or mutual funds. These costs can range from $5 to $50 to even more depending on what you're trading and where. Not only will you have to pay transactional fees, if you're investing in actively managed mutual funds, you will have yearly account management fees that typically range between 1% and 2%. Compare this to trading index funds through a broker like Vanguard or Fidelity, where trading their index funds is free for transactions, and they have some of the lowest yearly fees around, typically less than 0.2%. That 1% yearly maintenance fee means that your active manager has to beat the market return by at least 1% just to break even with the market. To compare this, consider investing $10,000 in a mutual fund for 20 years at 10% with an expense ratio of 1.5%. At the end of 20 years, the fund would be worth $49,725. But if instead you invested in an index fund that had only a 0.5% expense ratio, the money would have grown to $60,858. Just a 1% difference in expenses made an $11,000 difference over the entire investment. The bottom line is that you have no guaranteed control over long-term performance, but you do have control over what you pay for that performance. Obviously, you want to keep that payment as low as possible, and index funds do that. Simple. Lastly, the other major advantage of index funds is how simple they make your investing life. Once you get a balanced portfolio of a few index funds, it becomes extremely easy to consistently invest without spending much time researching stocks. If you're anything like me, you don't have 10 to 15 hours a day to spend studying the stock market and trying to choose the best stocks. I'd much rather spend less than an hour a month making sure things are still on track and then have all of that extra time to spend doing things I'd rather be doing. Index funds allow you to be a hands-off investor, or as Mike Piper would say, an oblivious investor. Of course, there are many other reasons to invest in index funds too, and I won't dive into them all, but here are just a few. No sales commissions. Less risky than typical funds. Index funds are highly diversified. Many index funds are tax efficient. Operating expenses are extremely low. It doesn't matter who manages the fund. You don't have to hire a money manager or investment advisor, and allows for peace of mind and simplicity. Disadvantages of index funds. Obviously, by now, you know I'm a huge fan of index funds, but it wouldn't be fair to talk about all the good things and not mention any of the bad. After all, there's always pros and cons. Really though, when it comes to investing, index funds have very few cons, but let's take a look anyway. Little flexibility. Index fund managers are bound by the rules of the agreements for their fund to stick to a certain asset allocation regardless of what the market is doing. This means that there isn't really any room for human intuition, knowledge, or skill to play into the investing. For example, if a particular index is declining rapidly, the index fund manager has little room to change the situation, whereas an active fund manager has the ability to change strategies at any given moment. However, this all depends on your outlook. Personally, I see this not as a bad thing because I'd rather bet on the entire stock market than one manager's ability to choose the right thing. But regardless of how you look at it, flexibility is a bit of a disadvantage. No room for big gains. Because index funds are used to track specific indexes, you're not going to see any major outperformance compared to the market. You won't experience the newsworthy stories about a stock doing 200% in 1 year while the market only does 7%. You're just going to see that 7%. The top-performing actively managed fund will outperform the top-performing index fund. That's just the way it is. But again, it's risk versus reward because that top actively managed fund is likely not going to be the same one next year or the next. And it could just as likely significantly underperform the market as much as it could outperform. So always keep that in mind. Why you should use index funds. You can't beat the market. I can't beat the market, and no one else can either. And they especially can't do it net of fees. So why try? Don't waste your time and money. Everywhere in life, I would argue that you should try and be better than average. In your career, in sports, in games, in relationships, don't settle for average. But when it comes to investing, you're better off just aiming for the average market return and spending your time elsewhere. Professional investment advisors and managers can't consistently beat the market over time, so by investing in index funds over the long term, you'll actually be above average as compared to the rest of people who invest. If I told you that you can spend less than an hour a month investing, keep your risk low, and perform above average over the long term, wouldn't you be happy with that? I am, and for the majority of us, including you, this is the way to go. You just listened to part 2 of the post titled, What is an Index Fund and Why You Should Care? By Nick True of mappedoutmoney.com. And hey, you don't need to waste any more time waiting in line to send mail and packages. With SendPro Online from Pitney Bowes, you can send packages and mail right from your desk for as low as $4.99 a month. And for being an Optimal Finance Daily listener, you'll receive a free 30-day trial to get started. As an added bonus, you'll also receive a free 10-pound scale shipped right to your door to help you accurately weigh your packages. Save time and money no matter what you send, from packages to overnights and letters. Just click, send, and save with this new offer for SendPro Online. Starting at only $4.99 a month, you can print shipping labels and stamps from your own printer, easily compare rates using online software, gain access to special USPS savings for letters and for priority mail shipping, and track all of your shipments with email notifications when they've arrived. Go to pb.com/finance to access this special offer and get a free 30-day trial plus that free 10-pound scale to get you started. That's pb.com/finance. Experience the better way to ship with a free trial of SendPro Online from Pitney Bowes. And that'll do it for today. Thank you so much for listening all the way through and for being here each and every day with me. And I'll be back tomorrow as usual, so I'll see you there where your optimal life awaits.